just ask Freeman, tell us a little bit of how the TT came to be. How did actually the idea come to fruition? And give everyone an idea of that.
Great. Well, thank you, Mark. And first of all, it's a real honor to be here. I know that's an overused word, but truly is. And thank you for being here and inviting me here. So it happened about 29 years ago, and just finished the Concept 1 convertible and coupe, which became the new Beetle. And I was asked to go over to Ingolstadt. I was actually under Audi at that time. We did the Beetle under Audi. And so my colleague Jay Mays wanted me to be his right hand in Ingolstadt as he took over his new job as the head of design for Audi. Jay was known for doing the Avus. And so I was only there a couple of weeks, and I was on my sketchboard. I did this little thumbnail sketch, and he walked by and he said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's just a little doodle, you know." And he asked, "Can I borrow this?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he came back a couple hours later and he said, "Look, I shared this with Dr. Pefkin. Dr. Pefkin was head of development of Audi at that time. So this is 1994, around April, March. And then he said he was smitten by this concept. And he said, "You're going to meet an engineer shortly, and you're going to talk about this concept, but you can't do this concept in the studio. We're going to set up a drawing table at your apartment, and over the next couple of weeks, you're going to develop."
Okay.
Excuse me.
Hey.
So I started developing this concept over the next 2 weeks, came up with what you know as the TT, and then they put me into another neighboring village called Geimersheim in this place called Udelhofen, and they basically built out a loft for me. And I chose 2 modelers to work with me, and then we had another couple weeks to develop a scale model. And that scale model was presented to Ferdinand Piech. And at that time, it was still the Spider version of the car. And right before the presentation of Piech, I did another little thumbnail sketch, and it was of the coupe. Excuse me. So the meeting went on with Piech, and Piech, in that room was Dr. Hockenberg, Dr. Pefkin, and Jay Mays. And I wasn't in the meeting. I had to stay outside. And Jay came to me afterwards and he said, Piech said, "I want a coupe. I want this coupe." And so from that point on, we developed the models. There's a lot of history that goes way beyond this, there's a lot of untold stories. But then we created the full-size model, and we went in '95 to the Frankfurt Motor Show. It was a complete surprise for everybody. But the concept of the car, in my mind, was really to define Audi through its, TT stood for tradition and technology, but I borrowed the logo and the name from the NSU TT. And if you go and look at images of the NSU TT, you'll see that I borrowed the logo as well. And I actually made that first TT logo myself to put it on the concept car. But the design language of the car has many layers to it, just like what I think is good design is really to tell a story. And you'll notice that it starts off with the 2 circles. And then the 2 circles are connected by this line, that connects it, and that to me communicated Quattro. And then the roofline of the car was the Audi Union. And the form vocabulary was pure Bauhaus. It was really connecting the geometric elements into this organic form. And somehow each one of these thoughts and ideas, I never realized what I had created. Just like when you create a song or a series of words, you don't know that they become pop culture at the time. It just wasn't happening. It's an inspiration. And there's many things as a designer goes through or a creative goes through in designing something, whether it's a song or anything, and it's inspirations. And for me, those inspirations were not only the Audi history, but also the original design engineer that designed the Audi Unions, and then was at Porsche and designed the 550 Spiders, the Porsche 356, and also was the designer of the original Beetle. That was Erwin Commenda. And I studied his design language and wanted to translate that in a modern way. And my story goes on and on and on. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them if I can. So, thank you.
Obviously, like you just said, it's much like a song that all of a sudden becomes pop culture. And like a song, it's a very emotional experience to write something like that, as well as it is to end up drafting and drawing and rendering something like that. So I think we can completely understand. Any questions from anyone that would like to be, who's gonna say something? Who's gonna be the bold one to have a question for him? We got one right here, Mr. Bob.
What was the biggest challenge taking the design from concept to production?
What was the biggest challenge taking the concept from design to production?
So I was really fortunate because I was surrounded by amazing engineering talent. There was a young engineer named Ralph Vilner. We were connected at the hip, and from the very beginning, as I was going through the concept from the very first lines through all of that, I would ask him, is this possible? Is this possible? And he would make it possible. And so it was probably, in my experience, and I've been part of many vehicle design concepts through the years, but it was truly a highlight in that I was supported by engineering, and successful design always comes through that collaboration, and instead of the two fighting against each other. So they're really, I would have to say that, with Dr. Pefkin, Hockenberg, Vilner, J. Mays, that I had nothing but support. And so I can't even think of any challenges going through the process. Everything was a solution that was successful.
Were there any design choices that you had to make in the concept that ended up going away after discussion?
Yeah, there's, okay, so design solutions that went away. The one was, I went into the wind tunnel with the TT, and this was a Porsche Weissach in the tunnel. And the original concept was to have a flush movable spoiler on the back. And so that went away, but I wanted it, to have this pure line. And so that was part of the challenge going back and forth. And so I wish that we would have been able to bring that in, and of course the second generation brought that into the formula. I would say that, it's designers have certain cars that they draw again and again and again and again, and that was just a car that I carried with me through the years, and it just happened to be that was the perfect moment for it to come out.
Wow, now we got hands. Now we got hands.
What would you say your biggest contributor to your success was?
Biggest contributor to my success. I would say the biggest contributor to my success was never giving up. When I started at Porsche, I can honestly say I'm not the most talented person in the room, but I never give up. I will go at it and go at it and go at it, and I'm never happy, and so it's a dogmatic attitude towards things, and also leveraging the talent around me. You know, leveraging that talent because I can't do everything. And I would say my biggest attribute is being able to conceptualize, but also understanding my weaknesses. You know, my weaknesses is that I can't do everything. And so being able to be like a band leader or a conductor, that, you know, having people do different pieces of the puzzle that fit exactly what I want. You know, so starting off with those two circles and interior and repeating that, I call those design friends. And I've done that throughout my whole career, you know, and that's why through my career I got more and more responsibility, and, you know, started to be able to lead larger teams. And I love working with people. I think they also know that I love working with them, and hopefully they like working with me. And I, you know, if somebody has a great idea, I love to champion it. Yes.
Would the TT have looked any different if your boss came by an hour later?
No. I think Jay Mays and I go back a ways, and you know, for instance, we're probably two people that can actually work together and finish each other's sentences. You know, so he knew a little bit about my design language, my philosophy, and I think that we had a kind of succinct way of being able to focus in, and also looking at Audi at that time. Audi was in a different place than it is today. You know, back then it was a real underdog, and now it's a big player. You know, it's a real tour de force. Yeah.
Do you still draw the TT like in your spare time? And then also, where are those original thumbnails?
Yeah, I have those original thumbnails. You know, and I'm happy, you know, if anybody wants a little sketch of the car or something like that, I'm happy to do it. You know, because I love drawing. That's my passion. Art is my passion. Conceptualizing is my passion. Yes.
So what was the biggest engineering/design feat that the TT incorporated that you think was the best part of it?
You know, it was integrating. So design is a communication. It's a visual communication, and a lot of times a concept can have a lot of innovations, and they never get recognized because the communication isn't there to describe it. I mean, and so for me, the TT, its greatest innovation was its shape and form to communicate all of the great innovation that was already there, you know, and was part of the Volkswagen Group.
There you go.
So, what were you trying to communicate in your final design?
You know, I came up with words like absolute, consequent. I wanted Audi to be known for what it was really powerful at. And it was probably the most Teutonic of all the German brands. You look at the competitors, and the competitors were either luxury cars or they were, you know, something else. But Audi had this amazing philosophy of technology, and, you know, with Quattro, aluminum, monocoque, space frame, racing, rally, you know, all of that, and that was really what it was. Yes,
How long did it take to draw the sketch?
the sketch was literally probably about 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah, and that's the way it is. That's why designers need to sketch, because if you just start with a computer, you know, you'll lose the human emotion in what you create, and so that's why designers love to sketch.
Do you prefer the original design with the
I like them all. You know, I see them. You know, for me, I get a lot of pleasure just watching everybody so enthused and happy about what they have, and so I like it all. You know, I'd love to be able to envision what the next one would be. You know, so they're all amazing.
Seeing your creation go from paper to real life, what was your first initial reaction and thoughts?
Well, it's like a great ride, you know, because it rarely happens. It rarely happens in the industry. You know, that your philosophy can become part of a big part of what the company is about, and it reflects that. And so even today, I'm humbled by it. You know, I didn't even know it's like somebody else did it. I didn't do it.
last one?
Do you currently drive a TT, and if so, what generation?
So I do have a TT. Audi gave me the opportunity on the Mark I to order the very last serial number for California, which was actually a 2006. It's a 2005 model built to 2006 specs, and I ordered an aviator gray with black. It has the S-line bumpers on it. It has currently 40 miles on it. Yeah, it still has the wrapping on the floors and all the packaging and everything.
Black baseball or regular?
What's that?
Black baseball or regular?
Just regular, but and I'll give you a little bit of a sidebar on the baseball glove. So I had this vision of in Germany there's a Bavarian fashion called Lodenfrei. So Lodenfrei is the Bavarian Austrian garb, that you see with the hats and so forth, the feathers and beautiful felt and colors like dark gray, dark green, light gray trim, and so forth. And so I envisioned at that time that a Bavarian, a younger Bavarian would be wearing Lodenfrei in the jacket, but he'd have Levi's on, probably a pair of Adidas, but they would be wearing, they're into baseball, they're into basketball. It was this transition of Americana coming to Europe. And so when I sat down and sketched out the baseball glove, when I went back home, I went to Big Five Sporting Goods in Thousand Oaks, California, and looked around for every baseball glove. And I found that perfect, orange brick leather, and I bought the glove. And I took it back to Ingolstadt, and I gave it to the color and material designers, and they mastered it, and mastered the stitching and everything. And so that was part of that story.
Thank you, Freeman. That was amazing. So, let's take a round of applause, exactly. So Freeman.